My goodness, good evening, hello and welcome. My name is Seth. This is Sweet Chariot, where we're making wooden bows. Hello. It's a cold evening tonight. I am dusty and tired, been out walking in the snow today, but we need to keep pushing on with doing this, keep building this, these bows and this channel. And thank you to everyone who has helped me do that. More than 500 people now, 550 thereabouts on the wagon, and I'm very grateful. Thank you very much. Yeah, so let's talk about what we're here to talk about, which is horse bows. Lovely, lovely horse bows. I have made small horse bows. Got another one. I made a horse bow very similar to this, and I snapped it. It's in that pile somewhere. I should have found it. What I do have is my other horse bow that I made here, which also snapped. Which is a bigger version of what we have up in the jig up here. So to replace the two horse bows that I've snapped, I've made a regular symmetrical horse bow and also another asymmetrical horse bow. So why is that significant? Because I am now at the point where the changes that I'm going to make to these ones are the changes that effectively help these ones snap. You know, the horse bow as well. It's so pretty. I don't want to get it out because I miss it. It was such a nice bow. And like I say, I hit this stage, and I started breaking bows. So it's now time to learn some lessons and apply them to the next one, which is always tricky with you bows because they are unique. You never really know what you've uncovered when you sort of start whittling them away. This is, let's say, for people who don't know, oh, under a pile of sandpaper. Your U selfbow starts life something like this. You get yourself a log. Well, so starts life a little bit ahead of this. It's taking a bit of energy already. You get yourself a log and you start whittling away, and you aim for something like this. And I use that word correctly here, aim, because your bow is underneath a bunch of log. So you need to excavate the log to find your bow. And it may feel like you've got yourself a nice solid piece of wood. And then you hit a stage which proves you wrong, and it could be way down the line, which was the case with the other one, the symmetrical horse bow that I snapped. Ah, but it was shooting so well. Let's put this one down. It was shooting really, really well. I say really well. I felt like it could have gone quicker. I guess this is sort of the challenge here with bow making. Is say, yeah, you can make a bow, or you make one that works really well. You sort of apply all the physics to the shape of the thing and all the other little bits and pieces. Your brace height and making sure everything's tillered properly. Getting your tip stiff might be something you want to do, or sort of the shape of your nut. There's loads of little things to do before you choose the weight of your arrow to try and make the piece of wood you've got perform well. And like I said, it's tricky with you selfbows because you haven't put that structure together yourself. You've sort of you've borrowed it from the tree. You're relying on the work that the tree has done in putting itself together. So when you could just go ahead and go, right, I want it to be this shape, but the piece of wood that you've got doesn't really allow it. I guess I can explain that best with this little knot here. You want to leave a little bit more material around potential weak spots. And it's only a small one. It could be absolutely fine. These are decisions I've got to try and make. Because it's slightly thicker here, I've left material to keep it strong. It doesn't want to recurve quite as well as the other one does. And you could sort of keep on whittling it down, sanding that sucker down, making it thinner, and try and make it a slimmer piece of wood so it takes the recurve better. But you risk splinters coming up on the backside here. Yeah, it's a worrying moment. Even if you steam it, you run the risk of splinters coming up, and especially when you've got unorderly grain. I could see a little one just here. It doesn't go straight across the back. Agent, I won't get him down, it's too much clatter. Agent up there, lovely beautiful bow that it is, does have just a little hairline fracture earlier on in the shaping process. Put it into the jig, and tried to do its recurve, and it cracked. And it's like, all right, okay, there's a crack there now. But you can take the material away. Maybe if I keep on taking the material away, the crack will disappear. I was almost right. There's just a tiny little hairline left there, and I couldn't take any more away because it went past the power point of the power point that I was looking for the bow. So I tidied up the crack a little bit. It's probably a little bit less powerful than I wanted it to be, but that's fine. But this is what I mean. And sod's law being these little imperfections will pop up in places where you really don't want them to be. And see, other than this guy's tillered up quite well. Been able to put a bit of now I've got the limbs working well. Been able to put a bit more time into the handle. That being the rule, you don't want to waste time on your handle before you've got your limbs working well. We've got 64 inches of really very nice buttery draw. Well, 64 on the limbs. Draw wise, we're probably looking at 30 right about now. And it feels like it could go to 32. But it's slow. It's slower than I feel it should be. I mean, it's not a heavy draw by any means, probably in the 25 to 30 pound sort of range. So what we can do now, well, aside from this issue with the recurve and the tips, is try and make the shape store more energy. And like I say, this is where I went wrong before. You see, this had quite a bit of this guy down. Arashi here, which I might try and make into a short bow. It might be doable. Yeah, Arashi here had some issues. You know, being a unique piece of wood, like I was saying, it had issues. Like you see, I've front set that limb from the handle now. Well, I had front set the limb from the handle and got a real nice bit of recurve on there, to the point where it was actually recurved, and I had to put this little bridge in there to stop the string from slapping, which worked really well, by the way. But what happened was the bottom limb went. There wasn't enough movement on the top limb. This will apply more to the other Maruki that I've got in there, which I'll get out in a second. But the same principle applies here. I think with the other horsebow, the symmetrical horsebow, I hinged. Once again, unique piece of wood. It had some strange grain and maybe a little bit of like a tiny cavity, little dark brown piece of rot in there. And yeah, I reshaped the bow, I put more energy into the limbs, and then we created a hinge. It was hard to see, but it was enough on that weak piece of wood, right in the pivotal point of the wood, where I just let go. I was really surprised by that one. I just didn't see it coming at all. It was tillered lovely, it was working well, and even after the limbs had been reshaped as well, it fired 5-6 times really nicely before just going bing and letting go. It was possible that I just pulled it. Oh no, shouldn't be an issue. I mean, you got to warm these things up. You got to warm the bows up. You bows, because they sort of take their string follow and settle into their full draw. So it is possible that I didn't warm it up properly, and I pulled past what it wanted to at that point on a cold morning. But still, you need a bow to be stronger than that. Yeah, which is what I hope I've achieved here. Got a really decent tiller, paid a lot of attention to the tiller. Let's say that this wedge could be a little bit thinner perhaps. Just a tiny bit. We'd have to see that in the tiller tree to really be sure. Steady. Tap it on anything at this stage, can't be taking material away. Yeah, it's a nice tiller, you probably still want to draw it. It's not too bad. In fact, you guys probably have better eyes than me. Tell me which if the limb is active down to the wedge, top and bottom limb, which ones are they moving evenly? Let's hold it properly. So I haven't actually got a proper tiller tree set up at the minute. There we go, that's full draw. We've got a real buttery, smooth full draw, but we want to put more energy back into it. So, decisions. Let's take, I think it's time to take Maruki out, because that one is still in the process of getting to full draw and also having its shape put back in at the same time. So we can, yeah, let's pop them out. Yep, this one had also back set. There's no leather. And the recurve wasn't quite, starting to take shape. Am I out of the way there? Can you see? This bottom limb was beautifully shaped from the start. It took a little dip here, front sets, and then back set, and I've had to put just a bit of recurve in the tip. Could maybe try more. We're going to get some nice thick tip overlays on there anyway. Yeah. The top limb, I can talk about it's still warm, so I'm not going to string it up. We can talk about the Maruki. Because like I say, it's a similar issue to what caught me out on the other horsebow, but a bit more specific to the top limb versus the bottom limb when it comes to what made this break. But both of them, it was because I was trying to front set the limbs, like I've done here, and also keep them drawing a long way. And I mean a long way. This one was 34 inches I was heading for. 35, mate. I think it went at 35. I had a 30, oh, did it? No, it must have been 34. I had a 35-inch arrow in there. But yeah, I front set it. And in fact, a young fella messaged me, I think it might have been a Japanese fella actually, who actually shoots proper Kudo bows. And what he said to me was, your top limb needs to bend more than your bottom limb. It looks like you're going to snap your bottom limb, which is exactly what happened. But I couldn't see it. I'm not familiar with the tiller on these bows, so it looked to me like the top limb was bending loads, but not compared to the bottom limb. All the strain was going onto this hinge here, which once again, unique piece of wood. It was well, you can see this made this lovely natural handle shape. But really this limb wanted to run up the handle just a little bit more. Delcat spotted that one. What do you say? Looks like an awful lot of wasted limb down here. It was absolutely right. What it needed was more. Well, no. Well, yeah, yes. A little bit more limb here. But then it needed much more bend in the top limb. Much more. You think you got enough? Probably do more. Twice as much, I would wager. Obviously the limb being twice as long as the bottom one, the top limb. So that's what I have aimed for with this one. A really very nice solid tiller all the way down. Try and keep this whole limb active. I guess that was once again the unique nature of this wavy piece of wood. It was really hard to chase the taper down the stave because of these knots. It was just very hard to see. It was different, like the material was tough here. I didn't want to cause dives here. Yeah, and it turned out to sort of front set this one, I had to try and flatten each one of these curves, each one of these little divots here, waves. Each one of its little waves, I try and flatten it out. And that put more and more tension into the top limb, which put more and more weight onto the bottom limb. So as I was front setting it, I needed to be taking way more material away, which is what I've tried to apply here. Get this tip. Well, firstly, this is a 60-inch piece of wood where this was a 76-inch bow. So yeah, really important this time to get that tip active and that limb active all the way down, all the way, every last bit of limb that I can muster. And we've ended up, well, we talk about that unique nature of U-bows again. We ended up with a knot right here, which is defined. You know, this is not good for a symmetrical bow, this, because it has a big old knot in the middle of that limb. However, for an asymmetrical bow, perfect. And it only really occurred to me as I was making this one that this opens up design possibilities for bits of wood that I might have turned my nose up at when I was out looking for staves. I go, nah, that's got a nasty knot in one of the limbs. Could well make your handle for your asymmetrical bow. Yeah, well, I did want this one to be longer actually. I was aiming for 64 inches, but at 64 inches, this limb was too short. So I've just about managed the 60-inch. This top limb might be very slightly longer, but I've tried my best to put the handle up here and chase this bottom limb as far up the handle as we can. I'd love to string it up for you. Like I say, it is still warm, so I'll probably just undo any of the good that I've tried to achieve. But they are spectacular. I'd say that later this evening I will do a short showing the tiller on this one, the bend, because they're beautiful. Yeah, hopefully taken care of all the hinges, and I'm not going to be caught out by any weird bits of grain, which is what made horsebow here, the other horsebow, symmetrical horsebow, let it go. Yeah, this one, I might call it winter. It was a beautiful snowy walk today. And what else needs to happen with it? I think we're going to try and recurve this tip just a tiny bit more. Like I was saying before, you want this bottom limb to be good and active, alongside your huge bend in your top limb. Yeah, we don't want any hinging happening here, and so it's a tiny little limb. There's a lot of pressure going on it still. So I'm trying to be mindful. We'll see how it feels with this top limb recurved first, and then go from there. So the other thing we've got to keep in mind with the Maruki is they're not actually straight. That is probably too much in the way of twist, or at least set to the right. Yeah, your horsebows and whatnot, they go for a skinny handle and some arrow pass. Cut out a bit of material there, allow your arrow to go past. Asymmetrical Maruki bows are set to the right. Like I say, I think that is just a little bit too set to the right, so we'll probably, like I said, just recurved there. And because of this knot here, that lovely unique nature of the bows, the wood does run slightly awkwardly, so I think that has passed on to the tip. Yeah, I won't really know until I've strung it up and have a look, because it could pull into just a really nice, this is its natural shape. It favoured the right, which, funny enough, this one favoured the other side. This one favoured pulling to the left. So I was constantly, as I was straightening this one out, trying to pull it back to the right hand side where that string line needed to be. So it puts the arrow over to the right and passes straight by the bow. So that was a pain in the ass with that one, but with this one, it favours the right hand side naturally, which can only be good for strength, right? So yeah, I'll do a bit in making sure it's straight and not too twisted. So we can just pull it around just a little bit there. Don't know. Feels like it did a little something. Very strong, the torsional. Oh yeah, it did quite a bit actually, didn't it? So yeah, that might be absolutely fine. A wee bit more sanding. I see, as you recurve it as well, you see sort of how well your material has leveled up, evened up. So yeah, that is where I am with my horsebows. Looking forward to getting a string on that one and seeing how it looks. They're such a cool shape. So yeah, the rock and the hard place. It works, it shoots. Should I do that? Let me shoot an arrow off of this guy quick and see if I can show you what I mean. It works, but does it work well enough? Nope. Speed being the optimum goal. It feels lovely. Probably not going to hit center because I haven't done the cutout yet. The arrow pass. I haven't got a knocking point either, but just watch speed. I mean, it's not awful. I've got one more, which is about the same sort of weight of those aluminium ones. One more hazel arrow. This is what I'm talking about. It's not awful. It works. It's a bow that works. But does it work well enough? Can this particular piece of wood give me more? Or will it snap? So, what do I do? A terrible little group there. You see, when I do the arrow pass, it should just pull to the center. So let's de-string him. And let's talk about that stored energy again. So if there's not enough light here, I found 2 was overpowering. Yeah. So it's all sort of sat backwards. I mean, it will return very slightly, we do have a bit more recurve in there. But you can just see from the shape it is not storing as much as it could. So what do? I have faith in this piece of wood. It started off twisty and has been a real pain to get straightened out. But I think the only option is to try and get this line up here. Try and flatten this line out a little bit more. And there's a few things to be concerned of. There's a tiny little wave imperfection there. And of course this one up at the end here. There's a knot on the edge of a knot at the base of the limb there. That's, like I said, the tiller says otherwise, but I feel I still need to thin it out a little bit here. But it's a good piece of wood. I'm not expecting, you know, a huge amount more power out of it. And also I quite like that buttery draw of the lower weight bow. I mean, this is sort of what horse bows are about. They were not particularly heavyweight bows, especially when it comes to target archery. They don't have to be, and they're fast designs anyway when you're made from bamboo or fiberglass or whatever. But it's whether I can get this piece of yew to do what bone, bamboo, fiberglass, carbon fiber can do, which is sort of the challenge. My challenge when it comes to yew bows. You should just be making English longbows, right? That's a really solid design to make a yew bow from. A nice tubular shape, so you're not dicing with, you know, your amounts of sapwood to heartwood. This one has been, you've got to be really, pay real close attention. Make sure you don't burn through the sapwood. Retain a nice layer of it, but then also taper it. Make it draw the length that you want it to, but then also retain the power that you want it to. Bow making's hard, you know. I've discovered. It's cold in here, if you're wondering why I'm dripping from my nose. So yes, this is where I'm at. Next thing, going to fire this guy back into the vise, I think. I won't do it on camera because it is long and fiddly and boring. I've got a bit of imperfection in this mahogany as well. I'm going to have to fill that in. That is going to look so good when it's oiled with its little cutouts out. But first, before I do the cutouts, I need to get these limbs to a point where I'm happy with them. I see it's already returning to something that looks a bit, excuse me, uneven floor here. On the table it looks a bit nicer. Oh, it does, doesn't it? And this handle just needs to deflex. Handle needs to be sat back more from the limbs here, and the tips need to recurve more. We could have a comment. Let's say I can't do the very tip too much because we've got a splinter coming up on the other end. So the recurve is going to want to be more gradual. Starting from here, I'm aiming from the middle of the limb. Yeah. I guess as we change our shapes, we've got to remember where we're going to be putting strain. So you're going to increase stiffness at this end of the limb. It ends up at the bottom of the limb. And that is what caught me out before. Yes. Yeah, I hope you like it. And once again, thank you everybody for coming and joining the channel. If you haven't subscribed, do so. Help me build this sucker, because it would be fun to keep on making these awesome things. Wow, I've got my horse bow there. Where did I put my stick? I put it over by the spoke horse. Yes, I have. In the plans to work on it. And we've got the yew shillelagh as well. That's where I had another piece of wood ready to go. I said to myself, the shillelaghs have sold really well. I think I've got one more up on my eBay shop. Come and find me at my eBay shop and buy my last shillelagh. Because if you do, I've got no choice but to make another one, which I should do anyway, get the stock up again. Because yes, making yew bows is great. I don't think people are quite as keen to buy them as they are a beautiful walking stick. So yeah, come and check out my walking sticks. and also consider buying these bows from me. Yeah. Yeah, I hope I've demonstrated a big part of this channel, aside from sort of the ethos of being involved in the forest and foraging and doing these positive human activities. Yeah, a big part of it is demonstrating what I'm able to do, and I realise breaking them is part of this demonstration. I hope you do too. It's well. I'm learning still. I think when it comes to U-bows, I think a lot of people would say you're always learning. There's always something new to pick up on, or well, there's just so many little things that you could easily forget. And like I say, I've mentioned a few times during this video, each piece of wood is unique, so it stops you from getting complacent. I think is the meat of that. Is what I'm getting at. I don't want to get too grandiose about it. We're making bendy pieces of wood at the end of the day. But I'm just amazed at the amount of physics that is tied up in all of this, between material science and you know, the shapes, what the string, the arrow, all the various materials bring to it is just it's incredible. And then of course the human element. Yeah, it's been grand, and I hope you've enjoyed it. My bows. Yeah. More Maruki. If I can figure out how to make them work well, I will keep on making them. Yes. Let's get this one finished up and on eBay. This one onto the spoke horse. This one into the jig. This one strung up and make a short of it tonight. Yeah. And then this one back in the corner. Until I can bring myself. It's just not going to be long enough, is it? I was thinking maybe if I could get limb out of here, maybe. Could try and form a handle here. Nah, maybe. Do a short symmetrical bow. Ugh. I'm over it. I am over it. You get over it by making bows. Right. Thanks again, everyone. I'm going to go have a nice nice hot cup of tea and dinner. It's probably dinner time. Yes, that's why I'm so cold. Thanks again, everybody. I will see you in the next one. Much love and a happy new year.